Welcome, pollinator ambassadors, to the amazing world of pollinators. And although our world is amazing, you may have heard that some of our pollinators are in decline. And we need your help to turn this decline right back around. However, before we can help them, we need to understand which pollinators are in decline and what factors are causing them to decline. With thousands of different kinds of pollinators, this is no small task. Here at the University of Minnesota, scientists are hard at work studying honeybee health and native pollinator conservation, and we'd like to share what we know about what's fine or in decline. First things first, our researchers wanted you to know that the honeybees are fine. Kind of. To learn more, we spoke with a University of Minnesota Extension honeybee expert, Dr. Katie Lee.
Thank you, Stephen. Honeybees are fine, kind of. So honeybee populations are not in decline. They're actually relatively stable. However, there are a number of different risks out there that can affect honeybee colony health and can lead to the death of a number of colonies. Wild bees are exposed to the same types of risks, but unlike wild bees, honeybees are managed by beekeepers, and beekeepers take care of them, and they can help reduce some of these risks. They're also able to make new colonies in order to replace the dead ones. One of the main differences as well between honeybees and a lot of different types of wild bees is that honeybees live in a colony where it's a unit of individuals that all work together in order to try to get the colony to survive. So honeybees have a lot of individuals within this colony that can individually die and the colony can still survive. That unit, that superorganism, what we call it, can still survive. And so they can be a lot more resilient to different risks, in particular something like pesticides. So this is one reason we really encourage, if you want to help honeybees, to really try to help all bees and all pollinators by planting a diversity of different flowers and growing a diversity of different flowers where a lot of different types of insects can find food and shelter.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Now that we know what's going on with the honeybees, what about the thousands of other kinds of pollinators? To figure out what we know about all these other pollinators, let's talk about what we don't know. Native bee expert at the University of Minnesota Extension, Dr. Elaine Evans, is here to give us the latest.
That's right, Stephen. There's a lot that we don't know about pollinators. What about all of these pollinators besides honeybees? We have wild bees, butterflies, flies, beetles. There are thousands and thousands of different kinds of pollinators. And it's really difficult to know what's going on with all of them. For example, in Minnesota, we recently figured out that we have around 470 different kinds of bees. That's just bees, not even all of those other kinds of pollinators. And a lot of these bees haven't been seen in the last 30 years, but they are teeny tiny little things that are out all over the place. And it's really difficult for us to find them and identify them. We're doing a lot of work here in the Bee Lab to try to figure out what's going on with our pollinators in Minnesota, along with state partners that are working across the state and regionally and across the nation and the world. Researchers are really interested in figuring out what's going on with the bees and all of the other pollinators. There are two other pollinators that we have a good idea about if they are fine or if they're in decline. We have bumblebees and we have monarch butterflies that we can know something more about how they're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. To learn more about bumblebees, let's talk with a scientist studying bumblebee conservation from the University of Minnesota Department of Entomology, Chan Dolan. Bumblebees, fine or in decline?
Thank you, Stephen. The answer to that question is actually kind of mixed. Some bumblebee species are doing just fine, and others are declining quite a bit. So here in Minnesota, we have about 24 different species of bumblebees, which is a lot relative to the rest of the United States. We're kind of a hot spot in that regard. But not all our bumblebees are doing fine. Some are in quite decline and might even face extinction in the future. One of those bumblebees is the rusty patch bumblebee, which also happens to be our state bee. This bee has declined greatly in the last 20 to 30 years, but is still fairly common in the Twin Cities, which is quite special. I think the best way for us collectively to protect and help our bumblebees is to make more native habitat in our backyards by planting flowers that they like to forage on, or by leaving leaves in the fall that overwintering queens like to sleep under to get through to the next spring. Lastly, one really important thing I think you can do when you're walking around or in your backyard is take photos of bumblebees and upload them to citizen science websites like iNaturalist and Bumblebee Watch for us to monitor and track their populations and just kind of see where they're at throughout the state. I really appreciate seeing this because I get on iNaturalist every day looking for bumblebees and new pictures to see where the latest rusty patch bumblebee observation is. So if you post pictures, I will definitely see them at some point.
Thank you, Chan. We'll think of you as we upload bumblebee photos to iNaturalist and Bumblebee Watch. The University of Minnesota Bee Lab also partners with many different organizations, including the nonprofit organization Monarch Joint Venture. Monarch butterflies are not only beautiful, but they're pollinators too. Populations are studied carefully by researchers. We talked with an expert from Monarch Joint Venture, Katie Lynn Bunny, to learn more.
Thanks, Stephen. You're right. Many people are surprised to learn that butterflies are pollinators too. North American monarchs are in decline. The western monarch population, which resides west of the Rocky Mountains and spends the winter in groves along the coast of California, has declined 99% since the 1980s. The eastern monarch population, which resides east of the Rocky Mountains and spends the winter in mountain Oyamel fir forests of central Mexico, has declined 80%. This is due to several reasons, including habitat loss, climate change, and pesticide use. So how can we help monarchs? The best thing anyone can do to help monarchs is to plant habitat. They need milkweed to complete their life cycle, and any native type of milkweed will do. But don't forget the nectar plants to fuel their breeding and their migration. Apart from that, contributing data to community science programs, advocating for monarchs in your community, or donating to a conservation organization like the Monarch Joint Venture are all great ways to help too.
As you can see, some pollinators are indeed in decline, while others may be fine. For most pollinators, we need to learn more, but we can't just wait around for scientists to take the time to study them all. We need to take action in order to help all pollinators by planting flowers and keeping them free of pesticides, providing natural habitat for homes, and taking climate action. We also need your help tracking where they are. If we can do that, we can turn things around and protect this amazing world of pollinators. Check out our other videos to learn even more about how you can help restore their populations and their health. Thank you.